All right, now we're back at the house and we've just finished buying all those ingredients that we talked about, and we're gonna cook our pad thai. So come on over here and I'll show you what ingredients we've got prepped here. So up first we've got our ketchup right here, and we've added a little bit of MSG to it just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. Very popular in all kinds of Asian food, but some people are sensitive to it. It gives them migraine headaches, or they just don't like it. So if you don't like that, go ahead and keep that out of there. Next down the line we have our tamarind sauce, and we took that tamarind paste from the store. We mixed it with a little bit of hot water just to soften it up there and make it a little easier to pour and scoop. Coming down we have our fish sauce, and this is about 1/4 cup right here. We have some chili powder, and this is actually going to get added last, and you can make more or less chili powder depending on if you want it one to Thai hot. I like mine Thai hot, so we're going to add lots of chili powder. Coming up here we have the white sugar, and the white sugar is a little bit more stronger of a sweetness, and so we balance this now with some palm sugar down here. And we have 4 hemispheres of palm sugar, and the palm sugar is a little softer, and it's going to bring things down a little bit from the sweetness and make it a little smoother from that white sugar. And down here we have our fried onions. And these fried onions are not the ones you get at Walmart. These are from the Asian supermarket. They're very thin and crispy, and they don't have all that breading that you see on some of those ones from French's. Okay, we also have our chives fresh from the garden right here. We have some tofu, and we have some shrimp. And the exact quantities on these are not anything you need to worry about. Just kind of do it to your taste. We have 3 eggs right here. These are the large grade A eggs. And then we also have some bean sprouts. We have about 2 cups of bean sprouts. You can add more if you like them. They add some crispy crunchiness to the dish. And of course we have the rice noodles that we picked up earlier. And remember, if you're buying your rice noodles dry, you're going to need to let them sit in water before you cook them. All right, so first thing is let's get started with our sauce. And so we're going to take all of our ingredients and we're going to add 3 cups of water to our pot right here. And we're going to get this started on medium-high heat. Okay, so we're going to add those ingredients that we just talked about, and I'm going to spoon them in here. So first, that ketchup is going to get a nice color here. Our tamarind right here. Tamarind is very sour and savory. We have our fish sauce. This is sour too. We have our white sugar. We have our palm sugar pieces right here. These are going to splash a little bit. Careful there. And we have our fried onions. Okay, I'm going to grab a different spoon over here. We're going to set this down in our little spoon holder, and we're going to get this cooking. And it's going to take a few minutes for the sugar to dissolve, especially this palm sugar. But we have it on medium-high heat, and we're going to do this for about 5 minutes. We're going to bring it to a little boil, and then after that we're going to kind of let it sit. Now, pad thai was one of the first dishes that I had in Thai cooking. Very popular. Most Thai restaurants will have pad thai, and it'd be kind of the first dish that you would get when you look at the menu. And a lot of people like it. And when I had it for the first time, I was like, oh, this is a really good dish. And I thought to myself, you know, this is the best food. It's got so much flavor. But then when I met my wife, she cooked me pad thai that's homemade, and I was like, oh my goodness, this takes it to another level. Oh, I almost forgot. Here's our spice right here. And I'm probably going to go back and add a little bit more after the fact because I like it extra spicy. But whenever you add this spice, the sauce is going to have that kind of little brown grittiness to it. And so if you add too much, it may get a little too gritty. So we're going to cook this here for about 5 minutes. And we're going to cut the video, and after we've got this heated up, we're going to start on the noodles. Okay, so we've got the sauce cooking here, and we got a little bit of a boil going. And so one thing is, people tend to make this sauce a little bit weaker than they should. And so what happens is, you have to use extra of those really strong, savory ingredients. You don't want it to be too thin, because if you do, once you put it into those noodles, it's going to soak up all that stuff, and your sauce is going to get kind of weak, and you're going to have less flavor. And so one trick to get extra flavor is just put extra of those ingredients in and make sure that it's nice and strong, because it will get weaker when you mix it. So we're going to turn this down now. We're going to let it simmer more. Okay, so now we're getting done with simmering our sauce, and I'm going to move it to the back burner and just keep it warm back here. So we've already turned this on to just kind of a low heat to simmer, and I already turned off the main burner, and we're going to move a pot of water over here. I've already preheated this so it won't take as long to boil. But we're going to start making our noodles now. And so we're going to turn this on high so we can boil some water, and we're going to get it boiling, and we're going to add our noodles here. And we don't want to do these too long, only trying to boil them for about 3 minutes so they don't get too soft. Okay, we're getting close to being done on our noodles here, and I'm just going to show you a little thing, an important point for doing noodles. And this applies with anything: rice, noodles, potatoes, anything that's starchy. And so you'll see right here this little sheen, the film on top of the water. There's a lot of starch in these noodles, and so if you don't take that starch off, and when we're done, these noodles are done, we're gonna rinse them with some cold water, because we want to get that extra starch off so they don't stick all together. But for some foods like sticky rice, you do need a little bit extra starch in there to kind of hold the thing together. But for the pad thai, we don't want the noodles turning into a big clump. Okay, so now our noodles are done cooking. We don't want them too soft. So we're going to move over here to our colander. And we're going to drain the water, and we're going to rinse them with some cold water. So it's going to get steamy here, guys. Hang in there. Okay, and we're going to use that cold water to rinse a little bit of this off. But we don't want them to be too rinsed. That should be good. So now we're going to start working on our stir fry, all the other ingredients. So we're going to come back over here. I'm going to use this burner because we just got finished with the noodles and it's already warm. We're going to go up to a medium heat. We're going to go up to level 4 here. And the reason is because this tofu, we're going to start off with a little bit of oil and the tofu. And the tofu, if you buy a package of it, you'll see that it comes in a big thing of the juice, the water there. So you don't want to put it onto too hot of a pan, or else that tofu will just sit there and stick to the pan. We're going to let it get a little warm because we don't want to put it on there completely cold. But then we're going to start stir frying the tofu here. And I've got a nice little utensil here that's non-stick that we'll use to kind of let the tofu distribute evenly here. So I see the oil is starting to get a little bit warm there, so I'm going to add the tofu now. And we're going to just kind of spread it out. And it maybe is a little too hot here. Let's see. Got a little too much sizzle starting off. Let me turn it down. It's still too hot from when we had the noodles going. Okay, so now we're going to turn our heat up. We've let the tofu cook a little bit of that water off. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit, and we're going to stir fry it here. And let's see if we can get some of these to separate here. And the center of that pan was a little hot, so we got a few of them that are a little bit stuck. But we're going to get a little bit of crispiness to that tofu. Yeah, see that center of that pan, because the oil didn't get there as well, and it was a little too hot. It's a little crispy. But I'm also going to, at the same time, we're going to add some of the shrimp here to this side of the pan. We're going to start to stir fry some shrimp, and that's okay. We got a little bit of the shrimp juice in there too. So we're going to turn it up again, like we said, to about medium high, and we're going to stir fry. And you don't want to put too much oil in it. Sometimes people, when they're cooking these dishes, they want to add a bunch of oil because they're used to American dishes where there's just so much oil. But we are not going to add a bunch of oil to our stir fry now. And we're going to let these cook for a little bit. I'm going to come over here and we're going to add some chives to get a little bit of flavor in here too. We're going to let the chives soften up. You know, chives have a good oniony flavor to them, and so we want to let that all get into our stir fry here. I'm going to turn our tofu so we don't burn it, but I'm going to let these shrimp sit a little bit. So we're going to flip our tofu over. And now we have our eggs. You know, just a little bit of shell. You want it crispy, right? A little crunchy. Now we've got it. I'm going to mix them all together. We've got those shrimp cooking nicely. I'm going to make sure we got a nice stable pan here. I'm going to stir fry. And we're not going to worry about that stuff in the middle of the pan getting a little too crunchy there. We'll just try not to get too much of the burnt stuff on our dish, and we'll scrape that off later and scour the pan to get that off of there. But we're going to continue doing our stir fry. You know, one thing is having good high quality cookware so you get even heat distribution so it's not warping when you heat it up. And that'll help your cooking be more consistent, so that way you avoid hot spots or things like the stuff not distributing and having dry areas of your pan. Okay, so now we've got our stir fry done, and we're going to add our noodles. I'm going to come over here and grab our colander. Let these drain for a little while, and we're going to add the noodles. Okay, we don't want to let these get too dry in here. Okay, now we're going to add our sauce because we don't want this to get too burnt and stuck to the pan. So we're going to add 3 big ladles full of our pad thai sauce here. 1, 2, and we're going to do a little less on this one so we don't make a mess. All right. Might add a little bit more in a second, but now we're going to let this all combine and soak in through those noodles. Remember, when those noodles take up all this juice, your sauce is going to get a little less strong. So we're going to let this cook for just a little bit of time. We don't need it to be too cooked here. Okay, we're almost done with our stir fry here, and remember, we're not cooking this too much more. We don't want this to get too crispy in here. We got some good steam coming off here, and then it's all smelling and looking really good. We're about to add our bean sprouts here in a second, and because we want them crispy, we are adding them last. We want them to stay crispy. We're just going to let them get a little bit of sauce. In fact, I'm going to come back here because my last scoop was a little bit too small. I'm going to add a little extra sauce just so we have some extra for those bean sprouts. Okay, and here we go. We're coming in with the bean sprouts. I'm just going to give these about 10 to 20 seconds in the pan here. Not long at all. Perfect. Okay, We're about ready to put it on our plate over here. It's looking and smelling delicious. So we're going to take some of this pad thai and we're going to put it over here on our dish. We're going to see if we can plate this beautifully. Get a little bit of the shrimp and a little bit of the tofu. Okay, and we have our pad thai here, and we're going to add a little bit of peanut to it to give it some flavor. You don't have to add peanut to it. And we're going to squeeze our lime over this here. And we also have some extra bean sprouts right there, but we want this to be nice and sour. Okay. Now let's try it. A lot of good flavor. Let's get some of that. 10 out of 10. I think I'm gonna go get some more chili powder. I like it spicy. So that's how you make a delicious and simple pad thai. And remember, you want it to be nice and strong, so that way all those noodles are just extra tasty. And so, if you have any other dishes you'd like us to try and make, put them in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. You rock, Tube, and we'll see you next time.